Here are the 4 things that we learned from the Buffalo Bills Rookie Minicamp, and it's coming right up on today's edition of the Dom Mafia Report. Yo ho ho, Bills Mafia. Welcome to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. As always, your host, Dan Mitchell. Say, for example, you're new here. I'm an avid member of the Bills Mafia, and I regularly put out videos about the Buffalo Bills and the NFL. If that is your cup of tea, I highly recommend subscribing to this channel, and as always, smashing the ever-living out of that like button. Now, I would compare after the schedule release and after rookie minicamp to about the time when you turn 25 years old and there's nothing left to look forward to, right? Like 18, like you can now get into the clubs, you're legally an adult. 21, you could drink. 25, you can rent a car. But afterwards, absolutely nothing. This is what I would compare the next a month and a half to 2 months of zero significant football news for the most part. But luckily, we had rookie minicamp, and there were a couple of storylines that I can just continue to tease you until training camp commences. And so today, like I said, there's 4 major storylines that I got from rookie minicamp, and I thought that we were just going to go through each and every single one of them. Starting off the main headline of rookie minicamp, each and every single one of us have been sincerely looking forward to seeing exactly what Dalton Kincaid can do and whether or not that he is going to be a day one contributor to this team. And I'm not sure about you guys, but the second that clips of him started leaking on Twitter, his route running was absolutely on display. His pivots, and so his ability to attack the ball, his skill set was really on display at one Bills drive. Now, one thing that I thought was very impressive was not necessarily what he was demonstrating out on the field, but it was essentially his own mindset. There's been several reports based off of various interviews that he considers himself to be pretty even-keeled, essentially meaning that he is the furthest thing on the face of the planet from a head case. Now, this is going all the way back to when he was just a high school student, and he learned this from his coach. As I kind of got it in high school, my receivers coach there, Coach Cody, called it the 5-second rule. You can't really do anything about the past, and so you can be angry about it or happy about it for 5 seconds, but at that point, it doesn't really matter. And so being a rookie and thinking so highly of yourself, it's going to be pretty easy to be a head case, say, for example, that you make a mistake. But the last thing we need is somebody that is going to continuously kick themselves in the ass, and then the second that they have a play that does not go their way, that they just get the yips and their production just goes absolutely out the window for the rest of the game. So physical skill set, check. Mentality, check. Now, what I do want to see is him in pads, and I do want to see him go up against some of our linebackers and our DBs before I completely start freaking out about how genius Brandon Beane was for making this pick a thing. It's number 2, Osiris Torrence. I am still absolutely freaking out that we ended up getting that man in the second round. I mean, each and every single mock draft on the face of the planet had him falling to us in the first, but lo and behold, he is still on this team on the second. Now, from the beginning, Brandon Beane was very excited about this guy. He was quoted in saying that he didn't notice much of a difference at all from his time at Louisiana Lafayette to his transfer over to University of Florida. As far as production, as far as skill set, dude looked practically identical. And I feel like a lot of us need to be excited about that because that is such a massive jump going from a smaller school like Lafayette and then going to the damn SEC, where you are literally playing some of the best defensive players that the NFL has today and still in college football. So certainly something I think all of us should be clicking our heels on. Now, during rookie minicamp, he was spending some time on both the right and the left side of the offensive line, right guard and left guard. He did predominantly play right guard in college, but I'm very glad to see that they are trying to implement him and see if he can make that jump, because I'm not sure if you guys looked at it, but our right guard position also has Ryan Bates, who we ended up paying a little bit of money to about a couple of years ago. So very interested to see what the future plans are for the coaching staff and Brandon Beane alike of where Osiris is going to go. But 3,000 snaps and no sacks, great run blocker, throw that man out there immediately. Oh no, Dan, not another ad read. Trust me, you are going to thank me for this. Now, as many of you know, I work extremely long hours, 7 a.m. until I about pass out at 11 or midnight Monday through Friday. And you would think that I would be able to go to sleep and rejuvenate. You're absolutely wrong. My mind is still going a million miles a second, and for the most part, I'm staring at my ceiling until 3 a.m. Now that is something that I have accepted for myself, but I needed to make a change. I needed to start taking naps, but once again, I can't nap either. Whether or not that it's my FOMO, or whether or not that I just can't get comfortable enough, or it's too bright, I have had no such luck until I ended up finding the Manta sleep mask. Now, little do you know, Manta truly believes sleep needs to be the #1 priority in order to achieve that particular level of success. Now, these things are ridiculously comfortable, and literally the second that you put it on, you feel like you're right next to Aaron Rodgers during one of his darkness retreats. I mean, look at this. Literally can't see shit. So you know what? I should probably apply to officiate in the NFL. Prerequisites right here. Now, Manta has several selections on their website. This particular is the Sleep Mask Pro. This company and this mask has really been able to help me prioritize what is most important, and that is my sleep, so I can keep on giving you that juicy content, baby. So whatever you're doing, go to that link in my bio and make sure you put in the code DONMAFIA, and they're gonna give you an extra 10% off your first order. Trust me, you will not regret this. Night night, bitches. His third story to come out of Rookie Minicamp is that we ended up signing 3 additional players to our roster because these 3 honestly impressed. So we signed an additional running back to the team in Isaiah Bowser, who is coming out of UCF. Now, in my opinion, there would have to be an absolute miracle for this guy to make the team, especially when you consider that James Cook, Hines, Latavius Murray, and Damian Harris are almost shoo-ins, and Brandon Beane is not going to take more than 4 running backs on this roster, because also consider Reggie Gilliam, who is either going to be listed as a running back or a tight end, just depending on how this organization feels at the time. But it should be very good to add some competition as training camp comes in. These next 2 are a bit more interesting. His number 2 is Travin Howard, who was on the Los Angeles Rams during their Super Bowl year, adding to our linebacker core, which in my opinion, I think that room still needs a bit more depth. So be on the lookout for him to actually make this team. And last but not least, Shane Ray, who is going to be a sleeper pick of actually being a pretty significant contributor. Now, do keep in mind, this guy is almost 30 years old. And so he was not only a first-round pick, but was also on the same defensive line as Von Miller when the Denver Broncos ended up winning the Super Bowl. Now, his first year was absolutely electric. His second year even impressed even more, that he was going to live up and be that first-round player that he was drafted to be. But after a course of injuries, unfortunately, this guy's career ended up spiraling down quite a bit. He spent some time in the CFL where he still has a little bit of gas in the tank. And so now Brandon Beane decided that he wanted to kick the tires and see if this guy can contribute to the Buffalo Bills. Because I can guarantee you, when you look at the players that we currently have on the defensive end side of the ball, we need some help. Because Von Miller is going to almost immediately be on the PUP list. Think of exactly the timeline that Trey White was on last year. And this entire team has a lot of youth. So a veteran presence, especially a Super Bowl champion, former first-round pick, is probably going to be something that Brandon Beane would like to entertain to add to this roster. Now, when Von Miller comes back, I'm not necessarily sure is where we would have room for him, but I am absolutely thrilled to see what this guy can do. So the fourth thing that we learned from training camp is that Brandon Beane is absolutely thrilled with how the schedule ended up working out during his post-rookie minicamp conference. He mentioned a couple of things. Number 1, he is absolutely pumped that the Buffalo Bills are playing the Miami Dolphins in January, which is probably the most perfect weather-wise is concerned. And then he also addressed the fact that the reason why we didn't take the bye week after the London game was because he felt that it was a bit too early into the season, hence why Week 13 is the 2023 bye week for the Buffalo Bills. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of the Dom Mafia Report. As always, sound off in the comments about any other takeaways that I may have missed for Rookie Minicamp. 2 of you actually excited to see throw some pads on? And who's going to be that #1 contributor for you? Just make sure you smash the out of that like button on your way out. And before I let you go, you better always remember, let's go Buffalo.